Now Fiona, I know you have the 140 by 200 hoop. So I'm now going to change my hoop to 140 by 200. And I'm going to move both my colours, my guide and my design. First of all, I'll group those two together because I want them to travel together. Group. And I'm going to move those up into... Oh, silly woman, went the wrong way. Up into the corner of my hoop. Up there. Okay, actually I want them in the centre. That's better. I told you both group. Of course, all it moved was the graphic. We don't actually need the graphic anymore, so I think I'll get rid of the graphic. So I'll tell that delete. Now I'll move these. Thank you. And I want you up on that centre line, and I use the centre line of the design anyway. Now, what I want to do is combine these into one whole design in here, in this hoop. But I don't need to use the combine feature. That's not necessary because I'm not doing this in a massive hoop. But I'll show you how we do that after I've shown you this bit. And you'll notice I haven't branched it or done anything to it yet. So while it's highlighted, I'm going to go in and tell it ungroup, and I'm going to click on the green because I don't need that anymore now. It's done its job. It allowed me to just digitize this side, then duplicate it and flip it horizontally, and then rotate it into position, and then go in and check that everything matched up where I needed them to match. So I'm going to delete the green out. Now that's gone. All my pink parts now, all the red parts, are grouped. So I go into Edit, Duplicate, and then I tell the duplicate to flip vertically. And I'm going to use my arrow keys because I want it to come down properly. And when I get almost into position, I stop. Now you can see I've gone a little bit too far in this direction, in the downward direction. And if I go in and I blow that up, you can see there's a gap here, and I don't want that gap. So I use my arrow keys, and I use my page arrow up, and I move those till they are kissing. Okay, now we've got that much done. And we've got this lovely little shape here, and it's just very gently overlapping one another, and that could create a problem. So I'm going to open up my objects. I'm going to click on the top colour, which they've made green, and I'm going to tell that ungroup. And then I'm going to click on this line. Go to reshape and just move that curve node up a little, and this curve node up a little. Right. Now I'm going to go down to, actually I'm going to tell that stop first. And I'm going to go down to the next group, and that's the blue group. And I'm going to tell that ungroup. Right. And I want that curved line. So I click on the curved line and it's highlighted it. I go down to Object Reshape and I move him down just a touch. I think that's far enough. It's separated those two lines now. And I tell that stop. So they're still kissing, so you're still getting that nice shape, but you're not getting that overlap. Now I need to branch these two halves, these two quarters. So I go into Edit, select all. Then I go into Edit, Branching. And you'll notice I haven't changed my stitch type yet. I've got to give a start and an end point. Now, I use my big machine for stitching this out, so I like to give myself a central start and end branching point. But if you're using the Janome 10,000 or the 300 or the 350E, and you've only got your 140 by 200, give yourself a starting and end point which you can use. So I'm going to drop this down in scale and suggest that you go from, say, this point and end on this point. Now it's branched and it's all still in single run line, only of course it's not quite all single run line. So we're going to run it through the slow redraw, and I've got it set on 172 stitches, but I am in the simulated stitch mode. There we go. So we're going to do a very quick test stitch to see where it's going to start. Now I'm going to tell it auto scroll and start the stitch out. Right, it started up here. And the most it's done so far is 2 lines of travel. Hasn't done any more. There we go. Now, let me get rid of the stitcher. I highlight my branched design. That's the jump from the middle of my hoop to where my first stitch starts, so ignore that jump. And I go to line stitch, single run line, and it's in here now. Now that I've branched, that I can tell it, give me a different stitch type. So now let's watch that in a slow redraw. That was a little bit of back stitch. That's back stitched. Can you see the different weight? Done a little bit of back stitch there, then it travelled up here in single line stitch and came back. Now because I've given it routes to follow and junctions that it can go to, it's only doing the forward path and the back path in the back stitch. So I'm not getting big piles up of stitches. Okay, let me close this again. Now I need to provide an alignment stitch. And the best place to put your alignment stitch is, and we give it a totally different colour. We'll make it blue, and we'll increase the magnification. We'll go from here, the end of that stitch, does help if you have a tool, Maggie. We'll go from here, end of that stitch, and you can run it the entire length if you want down to this stitch. Oops, wrong spot. Right into the center of that cursor. And you enter it. Okay, you highlight it. Now you don't go to Object Reshape, you go to Dimensions, Single Run Line, 6 millimeters. You want to be able to take it out. Okay, now comes the fun bit. Now we go into Combine and give ourselves 2 hoops. So I go into Combine and I bring down another hoop. And I've got to drop the scale on this. and I move the second hoop over, and that's the center of that design, so it's about that far over, I think. And then I come out of combine. I'm too close. I highlight this. I go to edit, duplicate, flip horizontally, and I move that across. Use my arrow keys. I'm not quite high enough for you to see. Right. My arrow keys just a little bit more. There we go. And you can see I didn't move my hoop across far enough because it's not within the confines of the hoop. So I have to go back into combine and move that hoop over. It's too far over this side. I need to get it moved over to that side. I also need to put in this guideline. So I'll duplicate that, edit, duplicate, move it up one, thank you, because it's got to stitch before this stitches. This one will stitch at the end, this one will stitch at the beginning. Okay, so I go back into combine mode. And here I am back in combine mode, and I click on this hoop and I move it over, and I'm still not over far enough. I think that's about it there. So I'm going to come out of this mode, click on the combine mode again, and I haven't quite got my center in the right place. You see over here, it's at the foot of this one here. So I need to be a little bit further in. Isn't it wonderful? Okay, so let's move that so that center mark sits. It does help if you have it selected, Maggie. That center mark's got to sit equal to that other one on the other side. And I'd say that's about equal. I'll just move it up a tad. There we go. Now the dotted lines are running over the top of one another. Maybe move it over 1/10. There we go. And then come out of combine. Now I can save that as the whole design. I'll tell that file, save as Fiona Jeff. Save. Now it gives me my hooping sequence. Okay, there's my first hoop. So I click on my second hoop. There's my second hoop. Now I can elect to save both parts. It's also given me its own alignment marks, which I can use. If I go back to 1, I've got a red alignment mark, a red alignment mark. I go to 2, I've got a green alignment mark, I've got a green alignment mark. So you can do away completely with your blue alignment marks if you want. But I'm very used to using the self-inserted alignment marks. I find I can cope with those. Okay, so I'm going to say save all. all hooping files were saved. OK. OK, Fiona, I hope that helps you, and I hope it helps everybody else who is having problems understanding exactly how branching and multi-hooping works. Now in the next video I will show you how you can also, just using a quarter and a smaller hoop, combine that lot into a 200mm hoop. So I'll see you in the next video.